About the defense for LSU, what did you see when you kind of studied them in the film?
Uh, Probably what everyone else sees: big, fast, aggressive, really solid defense.
That's pretty quick and to the point. Right?
Yeah, yeah. I keep seeing him in my dream over and over again, so it's pretty easy to recall that.
All right, so how good is this corner and safety? Delpit and
Yeah, they're tremendous football players. They as good as we've seen. I think the whole defense, honestly, is really good. They're good up front. Linebackers can run. They're good tacklers. I mean, it's a good defense. It's going to be a great challenge.
Hey, well, Sam, you had a little bit each year to his, to his bag. What were you able to add in the off season? Because that seemed to be a huge jump for him, improvement-wise.
Yeah, just again, just constantly refining his game, and that's in understanding things, where we want to go with the ball, his ball placement, his stride, just little things here and there, whatever it is. And some days it's certain things, and we focus on movement passes. Some days we're focused on throwing them hot, and so it's just a variety of different things. We refine, very individualistic. Here's what he needs to work on, and let's work on that and get better with him.
What you like and what didn't you like about Saturday night?
I liked with Sam, or just in general.
In general,
Um,
then Sam.
I thought, and this is what I told the team. I thought our first group, for the most part, played pretty clean, pretty well. I watched not a lot, but the games I got a chance to see, first opening games, there was a lot of sloppiness, turnovers, penalties, false start, guys not getting in, 10 guys on the field. I thought we handled that really well offensively, and I like that part of it. I told our second group, they're going to get opportunities. They got to be better. We're counting on those guys as well, to be able to go in there and not just be happy they're in the game, but actually really do a good job and focus in. I think that was one of the biggest things we talked about.
how'd you think both Roshan and now Roshan did Saturday night, and how David has done last couple of days?
I think Rowe is continually showing signs. We all know he's a very special athlete, gifted, but he's starting to show signs of being more comfortable there.
Mm-hmm.
And, David's still learning. He's got a ways to go, but he has the ability to play there for sure.
Because you're down at that position, is there temptation to play Keontae a little bit more? I know you guys usually like to divvy up those reps, but do you have to at this moment?
Well, I think that depends. I mean, again, like we've talked about before, Stan has a good feel of those guys. He'll know when and how to sub them, and I'm comfortable with that. I feel comfortable with Rowe, to be honest with you. Being able to put him in, and some of the things that he does is good. He's a tough guy. He's not afraid to throw his head, nose in there. So I don't have any problems with him being in the game. Will Keontae play more? Probably. I mean, I would guess and say it's a safe observation, but we'll see.
In a situation like this, is a 3-yard pass just as good as a 3-yard run?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. Whatever, you got to move the chains. You got to stay on the field. That's what we're going to do.
What was the process like for deciding that David was going to be the guy to move over from linebacker?
Well,
Did you look at anyone else?
I mean, there was probably some names that popped up. We felt like he was a guy that can run. He played it before.
Middle school?
I think he played some in high school. They ran him some. So he was willing to do it. Felt good about, hey, look, I want to do it. He's a guy that's helping us and contributing to us right now on special teams. And defensively, they felt like, hey, give him a look and see what happens. So that's kind of what we're doing.
You probably don't get Kirk or Danny back until at least the end of the month, right?
Yeah, a couple more weeks, I think. We'll know more probably in another week to two.
And what did you think of Sam Saturday?
I thought Sam played well. He played very confident, played very sure of himself in terms of what to do, where to go. Did a really nice job. There was some unique looks we hadn't practiced, but having a veteran quarterback and seeing him, he knew what to get to, the safe play, so to speak, and he did a nice job.
You're familiar with Joe Burrow, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
What can you tell us about him and what you just remember from your time with him?
very similar to Sam. I mean, very similar player. Very tough kid, great leader, great family. Competes hard. He's a really good football player. Smart.
Tim, with your experience at quarterback and lack of depth you got at running back, you comfortable airing it out, throwing it 40, 50 times if you have to?
Whatever we have to do to win, that's one thing we talk about. Each and every week could be different. It's a lot predicated on what are they going to give us, what are they going to force us to do, what are the matchups. So we take into consideration all those type of things and say, here's the plan we got to use to win, or give us the best chance to win. So that's kind of what we do.
You find them similar to your defense?
Yeah, I do. Very similar style, very similar type of players, very fast. Holes aren't open very long and guys aren't open very long. So we got to play on time at quarterback and get the ball out. And when our back sees a hole, man, he's got to hit it.
How familiar are you with Burrow and the offense they're running now, and do you and Todd talk about that at all?
Well, I haven't watched them offensively. I know Joe from coaching them, so. I mean, and just through his family and through recruiting and stuff. So we've talked about that. What kind of guy is he and that type of stuff. I haven't really watched them offensively and know what they're doing.
What after last year, and y'all played all those tight games, how much of a huge benefit was it to get Casey in?
Yeah, that was awesome, wasn't it?
Even if it's just for one quarter.
Yeah, I mean, even if it was for.
That seems like a lot, actually. I don't mean just one quarter. But.
Right. Even if it was a series, I mean, we didn't have that luxury much last year. To give him some valuable playing experience early is great. And
real film where you can give him feedback and
absolutely. I thought it was great for him and for some other guys. Rafidi at center, and it goes on and on and on. There's a lot of guys that played in that game that, like you said, last year our games were so close and so tight. We never got the chance to really play those guys.
Coach, how would you compare your depth now, I guess, offensively, not the running back position specifically, but overall in the offense in comparison to when you first arrived in 2017?
Oh, yeah, it's way different. I mean, we have a lot more depth. Obviously, we have older guys that are playing. Like when we got here, for example, Colin Johnson was a true sophomore. I know now he's a senior.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's and we have a redshirt freshman who's been in the program, who's the backup in Malcolm, who's actually played in games and has catches. That necessarily wasn't the case when we got here, and that was across the board, even offensive line, right? We feel like there's a lot of depth and a lot of talented guys, even though, I think we were talking about this last week, you have JP as a backup and Tope. I know they've been in the program 3 years. They're not freshman backup guys. They're guys that can get in the game and actually have played and or experience, and that's been huge for us.
Real quick, going back to Casey, how would you grade how he did?
I thought Casey did really well. We handcuffed him a little bit in terms of, hey, just get out there, try to eat the clock and run the ball, as much as we could at the end. But I thought he played well. I did.
What about the offensive line? What do you think?
I thought they played well too. For the most part, the effort and energy and physicality was there. They played really hard. Just like everyone, there were mistakes along the way, but we made them hard and fast. And as the season goes, that continuity grows. Those things will diminish. But as long as we have that incredible toughness and effort and we play that way, we'll be okay.
What was your reaction to Colin Johnson's acrobatic catch?
Yeah.
Is that something you're used to at this point?
You know what? It's interesting. You see those guys make those catches. You had Cade make a catch in spring camp. I mean, Duvernay's made some of those. I mean, you have guys make these catches in camp, and then he made that catch on sideline. That was impressive. I mean, that was really impressive.
How did Cade grade out?
Cade was what we consider a champion, over 85%, and he did really well. Again, we talked last week about Cade, just a silent, steady-heady guy that, he's going to have 2-3 catches a game. Breakout game, he may have 7, 8, 9 catches, but for the most part, he's always going to have his catches. He's going to do real good in the run game, and he's going to be where he needs to be, and we have a lot of confidence in him.
With LSU rotating its safeties around on positionless sometimes, what makes that difficult to attack in the passing game?
Well, the biggest thing is just, for the quarterback, just knowing who's in, number-wise. scouting reports that we do on certain individuals, and how do we want to try to attack them and when to attack them. But also, you know, for him, coverage tips sometimes helps. Knowing that when those numbers change all the time, you constantly got to, hey, these are the guys in. So the safety is this guy and the strong safety is this guy. So
Is that an on-the-field conversation?
yeah, a lot of times in between even too, you know, we'll say, hey, look, they're playing these guys. Here's your safeties, who they're going to be. And then he can kind of process it from there.
Did Herman ever go up against Aranda before?
I don't think he did.
It's kind of an interesting scenario, right? College teammates.
Yeah, it would be. I don't think they have, because when Dave was at Wisconsin, I think Tom was gone. I don't know if he did or not. Maybe the first year, but I'm not sure. I think Chris Ash was still at Wisconsin.
They have a package similar to the Cowboy.
Yep, they do. Very similar style defensively. Third down. We got to win on third down.
So benefit that you
Oh, yeah.
see it from your own.
Yeah, there's no question that it definitely helps us when you put on the film and you watch it. You're sitting there going, "Oh, that's just so and so."
With young nose tackles on there, without much film on there, how do you kind of grade the defensive line, like especially at nose tackle?
Their guys,
Yeah, they're good. And attacking that.
they're the guys you watch in there and you watch them play. They're good players. You know what I mean? So as far as they do rotate some, and they play a lot of guys, they did. So it's hard in one game to get that beat. You know, and it goes back to this, right? We talked about this last week, and it'll probably be the same thing I say every week. It's still about us. We got to protect the football, right? We have to be able to do that. We got to play with toughness. We got to play with great effort. We got to score touchdowns in the red zone, and we got to stay on the field. We got to convert third downs. That it's about us, and as long as we take care of those things, we'll have a chance.
With Brennan Eagles now in his sophomore season, what's been the biggest adjustment from his freshman campaign till now to get more playing time?
Well, just again, most of the guys that go from their freshman year, they come in, they're the star. Offenses are simple. Defensive structures they play against are simple. So it's easy. Their talent just takes over. And you get into college, everybody's talented. And so what happens now, it's a lot more technique. It's a lot more, hey, you know, this route's going to convert to this versus cover two, this versus quarters, this versus man, this versus cover three. You good? Yeah, and the guy's like, yeah, sure, I'm good. Yeah, I know, when you sit in the air-conditioned room, it's 70 degrees, and then he goes out there and it's 100, and there's 100,000, and the corner's doing all this, and he's like, what do I do, what do I do? They make mistakes as freshmen. Now, they rep it and rep it and rep it and rep it, and they study the game. Now, all of a sudden, he's out there playing going, oh, yeah, I've seen that before. This is going to be cover two. Here's what I run. So it's allowed him to have more success because he's able to process what I'm supposed to do faster so he can play faster.
You have some quality. You have quality control guys who have coaching experience. How much of that has been like a help for you, especially in your game prep?
I think it's great. You know, a lot of those individuals, Larry and Andre in particular, they do a lot of our advanced scouting. So when we come in to start the week, they've already looked at them and kind of give us the scouting report, and then we verify it and then take our offensive system and apply it to their statistical data and say, okay, here's what we want to do and how we want to do it. So it's expedited the process a lot. It's refined our packages some because we're able to focus on this instead of trying to figure it all out during the week. It's kind of figured out by Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, he's, to me, very similar to our guy, you know, very gritty, confident, complete control, can make all the throws. So that's, you know, that's going to be a hell of a challenge for us. So, but that's what he reminds me of.
The thing that strikes me, though, I mean, the spread offense, you all see this every week, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so you guys probably don't have bug eyes or anything like that.
No, it's not that. It's, you know, a lot of spacing concepts, which means just release 5 guys as fast as you can, get them set up, read the coverage, throw it to them, and then let them extend play. So that is a little bit unique in terms of our league even. There's some guys that run a little bit of it, but not a lot. So that part is a little bit different. So, it's game 2. They're going to change a little bit. They'll have a couple wrinkles here and there, but that's what it's predicated on is like, read the coverage, have a really smart quarterback, read the coverage, get the ball to the open guy, and then let him take off and go. So it's good. And then they'll run the football. I mean, last year was underneath the center, but the run concepts are the same. They just put them in shotgun, and they're doing it that way. So it's a little bit of piece of both coordinators.
I got you.
What did you like from what you saw, and then did you feel like you had to work on tackling a little bit more this week?
Yeah, well, I thought we played really, really hard. I mean, obviously, we missed some tackles on the perimeter, but, it's part of being first game and some of these guys, being under the lights for the first time. But, we've addressed it. I mean, we see the same thing that you guys see. But we do tackling every day, so it's just one of those things where you got some younger guys and just taking better angles and bringing their legs.
Did you ever have a conversation with Kobe about, hey?
No, we didn't.
No, he already knows.
He already knows.
Okay.
So.
How's that battle going?
Good.
At the
It's
corner?
it's still good. It's still ongoing. We evaluate it every day. So I mean, even Jalen for some of the stuff that he's done. I mean, to me, Jason goes in that room. We go in that room, and we're going to evaluate it because we don't want guys to, stop pushing and trying to go that. And we're like you've known us is like you get rewarded for the way you practice. So this isn't like camp is over and you're good. Don't worry about anything. You can go walk out in the game. So that's everybody, but especially that group because it is such a close battle.
The 3 other corners did not grade as champions.
Yeah.
So what's the message, and did you see anything you liked from those 3?
Well, it's just consistency. When ball goes up in the air, if you're at the University of Texas, we expect you to either knock it down or come down with it. So when you're in position to be able to do it, so it's just consistency, and that's all. And we knew that we would have a little bit of growing pains going into the first game, which was to be expected, especially with an offense like that. And you get the first one under your belt, and I think they'll relax and they'll play a lot better because they've been practicing a lot better.
How far has Joe come with his coverage drops, and how comfortable do you feel with him at Rover now?
Good. I mean, he's getting better. We'll find out if we're jumping up in class now, so we'll see him play this week and before. But he's made a ton of strides. He cares so much. I mean, that's the part of it. I personally, I always tell guys that I've never made a guy a great player. They've made themselves. I coach everybody the same way, and some guys make the choice that they want to go to try to get to be elite, and he's tried that. And it didn't surprise me. Him and Chris, they end up being like our players of the game, but it didn't surprise me that they played well because they did it for a stretch of like 23 practices. They were probably the best and the most consistent guys that we had on our defense. So, but I think he has a chance, and he's gotten a lot better, and he's taken a lot of pride in learning multiple positions.
How do you rate his football intelligence?
It's high. And the kid, I mean, he's as smart as they get. So, I mean, we're asking him to be in like 3 different positions. We have a lot of guys that we're cross-training. He's an intelligent kid.
La Tech, the screen game as the game wore on.
Yeah.
Was that something?
No, but it's what we are. I mean, at some point you just, let's throw screens and let's get out of here and let's not get our quarterback roughed up. And, sometimes it just happens that way where it's just like, okay, how do we slow these guys down? And then what ends up happening with it is you kind of figure it out that nobody's blocking you, and it's kind of a cat and mouse. I don't think it was a schematical deal. I think you get to the point where it's like they're doing so much right now that it's much easier to just get the ball in somebody else's hands and see if we can beat them on some stuff. So.
And Dave Aranda and other defensive coaches have talked about kind of the modern question of establishing a pass rush against RPOs, just how it's tough to get there, balls coming out quick,
Yeah.
confusion. How do you go about doing that against
I don't know. To me, I think that's probably the $1 million question. I mean, the RPOs are so hard now because, allowing guys to go down the field and block people at the second level. And if you're playing linebacker, you're getting blocked and there's a ball whipping by your head. So we can't coach. I can't coach it outside of, see the ball and try to figure it out. But, it's a huge advantage because of, linemen being able to go downfield. So I think eventually that rule will get changed. It'll be the NFL rule. We'll give our kids a chance to be able to figure out whether it's run or pass. And then if we get that point of it, just stay on guys and cover them.
How'd you approach, studying up for, Joe Brady offense from the Saints, Penn State, all that stuff without having much college tape on it?
Well, you can go and grab the same stuff. I mean, that's not hard. So, I mean, in our profession, it's, everything's available to be able to take a look at. But it's a second game, and, you know, you don't want to chase so much that you end up confusing your guys. It's the same thing with us. We got a ton of stuff in our package, and, you know, you want to make sure that you're kind of like, you look at the stuff that you think like, okay, if they did run this, you better have an answer for it. And then the rest of the stuff is just kind of play your technique and fundamentals. So you research it, you do that during the summertime to get a feel with people, so that way when you get out of camp, there's a comfort level of what you believe you're going to see.
How the
Do
Cowboy,
you feel like they had a limited look last game?
To an extent, yeah, because there was a couple plays. I know there was a couple formations that they just lined up and they were getting 7 or 8 yards of play. That you get to the point in the game where you're up, you know, 42 something nothing, and it's the second quarter. I would probably think that, you know, Coach Ogeron would just say, hey, listen, let's keep doing what we're doing, and we don't have to show everything that we have. So, but it's just, you know, that's kind of around everybody's first game, where it's like you come in there, you've had 7, you know, months to game plan your first opponent, and then you kind of move on to different wrinkles that you have in your package. But like I said beforehand, it's, you know, you just have to make sure that you're studying enough to understand like what adjustments you need to make if you do see some of these things. But you can't present it to your kids everything. You'll make them play slow.
how the Cowboy package grade out?
Good. I mean, it was good. It was. You know, I would like to see us in like 32%, 30% on third down. I think we're at like 34 or something like that. So it was good. There's a lot of speed out there, and there's a lot of playmakers out there, and it's, you know, it gives a lot of people an opportunity to get on the football field. And like that safety position group is like all those guys. It's like, how are we going to play this guy? And it's like, there it is. We can get all these guys out there. And, you know, DeMarvin made a really good play on you know, the pick, and then we created we got a sack. We just missed a sack with B.J. Foster, so we'll keep expanding on it and keep moving forward on it.
How do you apply that and use it in small doses, or do you want more doses? I don't know of
In terms of
that package. Yeah.
Well, I think
how do you determine that?
It depends on what you're seeing and then what people are doing on third down. You know, it's
their tendencies.
Yeah. So it's a kind of a weekly deal that, you know, you go into and say, hey, do we want to run this? Do we need to be a little bit heavier? Do we need to, you know, do we want to make sure that X, Y, Z? So,
Right.
you know, but we'll ride with it for a while. And, you know, I just like the fact that we have a lot of speed on the field. That's number one. So if we make a mistake, we can cover it up. And then we have a whole bunch of guys that at the end of the day are really good playmakers. And that's the thing that's unique about it.
Coach O is, well, they're not far removed from Les Miles ground and pound, first and second
Yeah.
down. Now you look at them throwing it around 30, 40 times. Not typical SEC style of offense. Do you think that's going to keep going, spreading, and going to?
Well, I don't know. I think when you look at the way that they're throwing the football, if you can have efficiency throwing the football, then to me it's like kind of like our guys will be like, you don't run the ball enough, all you're doing is throwing bubbles, and it's like, or outside hitches, but to me they look at that like a run. So if it's efficient, you know, if you're throwing the ball all over the place and you're, you know, 50% or less, then that you're not going to win a lot of ball games. So I think when you look at this, you have the element of the ground and pound, but you also have the element of a high throwing percentage. And when you have that, when you're moving the sticks and you can get 7 or 8 yards with a chance to hit a 30 or 60 yarder if somebody breaks a tackle, then I think it's low risk.
Dave Aranda, I guess, was one who recommended you to Tom.
Yeah,
Are
a little
y'all-
bit.
Have you become friends, or?
Dave and I have
That's
been
right.
been friends since Utah State. So we date back. He was with Gary Anderson. Gary hired him from Hawaii to be the defensive coordinator at Utah State. They hung out, and then they went to Wisconsin. They elevated Matt Wells, the OC, to the head coach, and then Matt hired me and essentially, you know, said, here, this is what we want to do. And Dave and I stayed close together as we kind of adjusted to the stuff that they were doing there. And then, you know, I see Dave all the time on the road recruiting. We recruit the same type of, you know, same guys, you know, and he's a friend, you know. And Dave's as sharp as they get. He's a genuine person, big-hearted guy, and a great person.
On the Cowboy game, I mean, other teams have similar packages, 6, 7 guys.
Yeah.
How much of a difference does an 8th guy make?
An eighth guy?
An 8th guy.
In terms of getting another
Yeah.
DB in there. To me, it's just like, if you know they're gonna do things that create space and all that, then having faster guys on the field is, is an advantage to you. You can reel in people, you can tackle people in space. So, Dave, you brought up that beforehand. Dave's very similar. You're probably going to see that on both sides, on Saturday night. So it's just putting guys in there that can run and can make plays, especially when the majority of the time they're going to throw the football is, I think, an advantage to have that.
How do you feel about your defensive front and just your ability to win, on the running downs and be able to get in third down?
Yeah, well, I think we've gotten so much better up there, and Colburn is a guy that I talked to you guys about beforehand. It's given us some extra stuff in there, and his ability to clog up. And I thought Malcolm played really, really well. I did, and he playing like we would expect a captain, a leader to play. So. When those guys can penetrate gaps and make plays, and I think Jeff and Joe were really solid inside, it alleviates a little bit of the calling from us, where it's not like, hey, listen, they're getting 7 or 8 yards a run, so we got to load up the box. We can actually play some coverage to try to help out the guys in the back end.
How much does it help to just be heavier? Like, you're probably 60, 70 pounds total heavier.
It's huge. It's huge. I mean, when we first got here, those kids weren't that way. Malcolm running well. I think he's like 292, somewhere around there. TQ's up there, and Colburn's probably like 3-something. So it's like, it is a huge deal for us.
Time for a couple last ones.
Coach, how would you assess your depth on defense overall, like in comparison from when you first arrived in 2017?
Yeah, it's better. I think there's a comfort level. I thought you saw us spin a whole bunch of guys in there early, which is in the last 2 years really hasn't been our style, because there was such a big drop off in terms of what our ones were and what our twos were. So I think it's through recruiting we've really added, quality depth, but guys that when we watch them in practice, in the old days, it used to be, hey, this guy gets 10% of the play, so he might get 8 to 10. Now we're talking about, hey, this guy's going to get 40% of the snaps during this game. So like a guy like Deli and like Mitchell and those guys, it's like, hey, you guys are going to play 30 plays this game, which in the long run, I think Osai played like 59 plays on defense. Now he's on special teams too, but if we took 30 off of Osai's plate, then, we get into week 11 and 12, Joe Osai's not at, whatever it is, like 1,200 reps. That's what you don't want, because these guys, come December, when we're trying to get into this run, it's like you want to make sure that your players, have some more left. We don't run the tires off of them. So it's been a lot better for us.
So, Cade, are you guys embracing the magnitude of Saturday's games, or are you kind of trying to downplay it as a staff?
No, I think at the end of the day, it's always been about us, and the way that we train and the way that we do things, and this is just another opportunity. I think this staff itself has been together and been in some decent games. So we kind of, it's like, for us, it's, do a little bit more, a little bit better. And then from the player standpoint, you just don't know. When you've been in something where, I don't know what the year, you guys have been here longer than I have. When's the last kind of game like this that's happened? It's probably been like 10 years, I bet. So, we don't know how our players are going to, all we can do is prepare them as hard as we can, be very demanding, and hope that when they go on the field, because we've demanded so much that the game is not, like, oh, what's going on right here, that their training actually will help them during on Saturday night.
Is Caden going to have to just play through that ankle?
Yeah, I mean, to me, Caden's fine. He's a warrior. That guy's fine.
But why,
Last one?
going back to Houston, Tom is 8-2-1 against the spread as an underdog. Why do y'all advance? Why do y'all do so well as underdogs?
No, but it's, in my personal opinion, it's like we stay consistent. We're very demanding.
Mm-hmm.
We expect a certain standard by our kids all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it has never been about us as coaches. It's like the way that we do things. So when you go into that environment, I bet you it helps them, because it's not like, oh, what do I do? I haven't been in this spot before. Or, how am I going to perform? I've never been, for these demands are so hard for this game. So I think that part of it helps us. It's just the way that we do things on a daily basis, that when you get into ball games like this, you can either be uptight or you can embrace it.